Hi friends, my name's Georgie. It's such a joy to welcome you to the Just Breathe podcast, where I'll be talking all things breathing to help empower you guys to use the power of your breath to harness your bodies and minds. In today's episode, I'll be chatting to Raimond Feil. Raimond is a nervous system and trauma therapist, and we got talking about how powerful breathing can be in releasing trauma, as well as letting go of stories that, if repressed, have the potential to become locked in our subconscious minds. Raimond shed so much light about how the nervous system responds to the experiences we encounter, and how we have the potential to either respond or react to those experiences. If you haven't already, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Let's keep empowering and inspiring people to elevate their health and well-being through the power of the breath. All right, that's it from me. Let's get right on with this fascinating conversation. I really hope you enjoy it. This is episode 8 of Just Breathe with Raimond Feil. Hey Raimond, welcome to the Just Breathe podcast. Thank you so much for coming and talking to me today. Such a pleasure to have you. How are you doing?
Yes, I'm doing really fine, and thank you for inviting me. I'm
No
really
worries.
excited to come and share my experience and whatever you're gonna ask me.
Absolutely. Where are you chatting to me from today? I haven't asked you that.
What?
Where are you in the world?
Oh, right now I'm in Estonia.
Ah, cool.
Yes, a small country. That's my basically like home, but last maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 years I have been like moving around anyway,
Yeah.
everywhere. So now I kind of came back from Bali in August. I was spending
Oh
like
my
my month there.
goodness.
Yeah, so
Wow. Oh, what were you doing in Bali? Studying or teaching or?
Yeah, so in Bali, I was spending a winter, and then I accidentally got on that breathwork thing accidentally. And basically, what happened was the
No
universe
way.
brought all that teachings in front of me on a plate like that, and I was like, "No way, I'm gonna say no. Of
Oh
course, I'm
wait,
gonna
so
say yes."
your breathwork journey started in Bali?
Yes,
That's
yes.
beautiful.
It's
Wow, can
it's
you
it's
amazing. Please tell me more. So how did that get started? How did the universe bring breathwork in front of you in that way? Can you tell us a
yeah,
story?
yes. So it's pretty interesting and funny though.
Yeah.
So I went in 2019 in October. I
Mhm.
went to Japan to do a Shikoku pilgrimage. So it's basically
Awesome.
1.5 months by foot around the island. From the like, there's like
Wow.
88 different temples. So you go from the temple to temple. But the main idea of that was um, to figure out what to do with my life. Because 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, I left the industry where I spent like 12 years around, and I didn't want to go back, so I was kind of searching what to do. And I've always
What were you doing? What was your job?
oh well, it was like really different than that, than
Yeah.
breathwork. So it was I was in a
Oh.
coffee production, roasting, production, management,
Oh, in the
training.
coffee industry. There
Yeah,
are worse
yeah,
places to be. There are worse places.
yeah, right.
But you
But
wanted something more, right? And you went in search of that.
it just like
Amazing.
changed in a natural way. So I felt
Mm.
like I didn't want to be there anymore. It was
Yeah.
like I just like felt like needing the change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. And so I was like going around and trying to figure out what to do. And I always have been like been a little bit interested in like neuroscience, how our brain works,
Yeah. Yeah.
how we as a human function, right?
Mm.
Uh, what are those things that we feel good, and sometimes we still keep falling into the same holes of depression or whatever those are.
Over and
What
over
is there?
again.
Yeah,
Right.
yes. So what is there behind that? And I've always kind of like thought sometimes like maybe I should do some kind of become a nutritionist or maybe a massage therapist or something like that. I have
Right.
some training and experience from the past on Japanese massage thing, and
Right.
but I never really kind of like when I thought of those things, they kind of like great, but I don't know, right? And
Yeah.
so yeah, and so last year October. Right now, I was walking in Japan and I hurt my leg. And so
All
basically
right.
so basically my idea to do that was to figure out what to do with my life.
Right.
And now I'm walking that, and exactly on a halfway, I hurt my leg. I got a shin splint. So I had to,
Oh, right.
yes.
Painful.
So I had, it wasn't like 1 week wasn't enough to recover. So I had
Right.
to take longer. And so I decided, okay, let's go to Bali then. Let's spend winter there and come back in April. So, and let's
Oh,
continue. And what happened in Bali was that somewhere in December, I moved to the new guest house and I had a neighbor there. At the time, I was practicing Wim Hof method, basically daily, right? Like,
yeah.
of course, you can't do the cold shower there because the water is like really warm there, the coldest one. But
Really? Whoa.
yeah,
Oh, man.
yeah. So, but I was like practicing the breathing stuff, and then
Yeah.
at one point, she comes to me and says, "Hey, I know one guy. He's doing some kind of breathing thing and so on, as well.
Right.
Blah blah
Right.
blah." And I said, like, "Oh yeah, whatever. I'm doing my Wim Hof thing."
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
kind of blocked away in a way. And 2-3 weeks later, I thought like I became like curious, maybe just like test it out, like just like go once there and see what it's all about. It's
Yeah.
like nothing to lose, right?
Yeah.
And the once when I came back from my first session, came out from the first session, I was
Yeah.
blown. I was like, holy shit,
Really?
this is better than ayahuasca. And I was
No,
like,
that's a big statement. A lot of people say that they have this the first experience of breathwork, whatever that means for them, is just, you never forget your first experience of breathwork.
yeah, it was like, it was so kind of, it was deep and it was like so
Right.
clean. It goes straight to your things, turns them off and takes them out basically.
Right.
But in
Right.
ayahuasca, you have a lot of this psychedelic noise going on and so on. And so you
You've
like
had an
tripping
experience of
around there.
ayahuasca as well? You've done ayahuasca?
Yeah, I have.
Wow.
Have done that in Brazil sometimes, and in Estonia as
Wow.
well, and so on. But and so I had this comparison moment as well, to compare those kind of things, because
Right.
breathwork, in a way, it seems that it a little bit triggers the DMT in our brain as well. So it kind of brings us a little bit kind of high on our own supply, as Wim Hof says.
That's pretty cool though, right?
Yeah.
Being high on your own bodily functions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Our like nature is the most intelligent thing in the world, right? He knows exactly, and it like just like created this human being or whatever,
Right.
and this physiology. We have everything within us.
Yeah.
And so I continued going in a few one-on-one sessions, to go deeper and deeper into my own traumas and heal my own suppressed emotions and stuff.
Right.
Because I had a bunch of them, I knew I needed to work with them, but
Yeah.
you work from your conscious mind. It's like really hard to actually get there,
Right.
like into your subconscious or this hidden parts of the brain.
Yeah.
And so at some point I discovered that there was like once a week breathwork circles. So I started to go there.
Still
and
in Bali at this point. Bali.
Still in Bali. Everything's in Bali. So now it's already February, right?
Right.
And then in one of those circles, the teacher Edward Dangerfield, he's a breathwork Bali kind of a main guy, right? And he says like, okay, so we have this 5-day retreat starting like basically tomorrow. And we have one spot left because one Chinese guy couldn't come from China because China was totally locked down, right?
Oh, and, right. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And then I thought like, oh, hell, I would really like to go. I felt like from inside I want to go, but it was like
needed to go, right?
Yeah, but it was like pretty costly. And so I told like, but I have my own accommodations. Like, can I somehow? And he said, yeah, sure. So he gave me like 40% off or something.
Whoa.
And it's like, off I go tomorrow. And so 5 days later, during the 5 days, we had like 10 breathing sessions plus other trainings and talking about so it was like base training for the breathwork. So this is your first step when you continue to build up your knowledge and know it.
Yeah.
And in the end of those 5 days, I was blown. Like I felt so much different. Everything was much more 3D around me. Everything was more.
It literally opened your eyes. Wow.
Yeah, the colors are much more alive. You were like in a small acid trip or something like that.
Wow.
And it's like without nothing, it's like just breathing, and after that, it's like result. I was like smells, everything was so alive. And I have a from 12, 13, 14 years ago, I had like a couple of motorcycle crashes where I broke my left hand. And after that, I was like really like not scared, really scared, but like kind of you feel the scares in
Nervous.
you when you
Yeah,
go
yeah,
the
yeah.
cornering with the
For
scooters and stuff.
sure.
And then suddenly I'm driving with a scooter and I'm discovering like, what the heck? I'm just like driving without any problem. You know, it's like no
Yeah.
worries, nothing. And it's like, what the heck? I'm driving different than usually. What the heck? What's going on? Right. And so it's like
Wow.
really incredible how it's just like cleans your kind of traumas and stuff. And like, just like with a show, just like brings them out. Right.
Yeah, sounds like you
So,
had a crazy shift. I mean, by what you're describing it, and a lot of people describe it as an awakening, don't they? That you literally open your eyes when you're like,
yeah.
have I been living like on 10% this whole time when actually the other 90% was right there?
Yeah, that's crazy, right?
Right?
That's
Yeah.
great. That's really crazy.
Yeah.
So the story goes on
For
like
sure.
that I knew I wanted to definitely go to the training, but the next trainings for, so it was like the full package was for 100 hours of training.
Whoa.
And so basically this was a half of the first level, right?
Yeah.
And so the Edward planned to do the second half of the first level in Bali, and then
Yeah.
the second, third, fourth, and fifth level would be in Canada in May and in September, right?
Wow.
And then of course world started lockdown, and then we like,
Yeah.
what the heck? And he said like all trainings are canceled because nobody's going to be traveling, you know,
Yeah.
and we can't guarantee anything, you know, in what's going to be in May and stuff. So
Right.
everything canceled, and I was like, holy shit, so this is my life, right? So I
Mhm.
had already all my plan what to do, like how to jump into that my new thing, and now
Yeah.
suddenly it's all fully canceled, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then like 3 days later, Edward sends me a message and says, uh, I found a pretty cool retreat center here. If you want, it's possible to train besides me, and minimum you have to come for 1 month. It might be go longer. And he gave me like super great deal with that. And I just went
Whoa.
there, and it's really like I felt like universe just like brings on a plate that thing to me, and I was
Because
like,
this
what
is
the heck?
this is one of the leading breathwork practitioners in Bali that
So
is.
he well, he's like really good at what he
Yeah.
does because his
Yeah.
lineage is, yeah, because his lineage is from Robin Clements, who
Wow,
is in
cool.
Canada, one of the big guys, and Robin Clements learned about that like 20 or more years ago from
Yeah.
Judith Kravitz. So
Mhm.
this is the lineage of like totally like, yeah. So and
Right.
the stuff how he talks about all this physiological side and from the science point of view, from the science, it's
Yeah.
like it just like connected me to me right away, and it's like wow, it's like really great.
Wow. So opportunity
Yeah,
after opportunity just presented
yeah,
itself
I just
again
like
and again.
yeah, absolutely. And basically the moment when world went crazy, lockdown, and people were rushing to buy toilet papers and stuff, we just
Yeah.
gathered into the like 16 people of us gathered into a retreat center somewhere in the beautiful nature, and just started breathing and practicing and learning something new and changing our lives basically.
That sounds like absolute bliss. I think I know where
It,
I'd rather be.
yeah, it was like I have no words. It was like super beautiful, super great. And so we
Yeah.
spent like in the end we spent like 2 months there training. 4 days a week we were training and stuff and breathing, and then three
Wow.
days we had for ourselves. And basically we had this container, all
Mhm.
these people there. During that time, of course, we were triggering each other out of like hell out of each other and stuff.
Yeah.
Not everybody, but you know, it's like stuff is coming up, you know, and so it
Yeah.
starts going on. And so it was a beautiful container where to practice all that and really work on ourselves and work on the new kind of teaching and understanding of what is to be a human. Because for me, what the main message came through was that it's a manual for how to be a human being. Come on. It's like
Breathwork is a manual for how to be a
uh,
human being. I agree with
so
that.
yeah, so basically the understanding of all the neuros, like basically how the brain functions, how the nervous system
Mm.
functions, how the endocrine system functions, how they come function together combined as a one system. So you
Yeah.
basically start to understand, holy heck, what is an emotion? It's like I've never knew that. Why I didn't knew that when I was like 20 or something like that.
Right.
So it's
Right.
like, yeah.
Right. And so after learning all this, was this something you knew you then needed to take out into the world and spread awareness of this? You'd had such a transformational journey yourself, right? Did you sort of feel empowered to help other people or facilitate the space for other people to go through that same journey that you went through as well?
Ooh, I didn't like particularly have this kind of the sense that I need to help others, but I kind of had the sense that I want to master that and I want to do that. I want to kind of go and start doing that, especially the first level, of course, my own inner circle, your friends community, your own like family and stuff. Of course, with a family as much as you can't push people into that.
No,
they have to be ready, willing to do that. So and but yes, I really felt like really connection, because as I previously told, that I had interest in these different modalities of like breathing and Wim Hof. I had like interest in brain function and stuff. And now the breath work brought all these separate sciences into one complete thing. And now, right. And it's like, oh, wow, so I could just like do all of them because they're all connected.
Yeah. So I mean, looking back to how you said you were when you were working in the coffee industry up to even this point now, how much has breathwork alone in this experience in Bali changed your life?
Well, let's say so that how I react or act towards certain situations is totally different.
Really?
I don't get triggered anymore about a lot of the things, how people say certain things. I'm so much more relaxed when people say no to me or they like whatever they say, oh, I couldn't come, whatever, I say, oh, yeah, whatever, okay. It's like, I'm so more relaxed. Also like some, I used to struggle a lot of depression myself, and there's always like this, like after a while, I drop into this kind of hole of depression, and I can't understand where it comes from. What is that? And it's like constantly falling in those holes. And basically now, since January, zero.
Wow.
Zero. I don't even think, to be honest, I was, in a way, my depression was kind of in such a level that I was always had a plan Z in my back of my head. If something happens, I already thought like, if I fail, because I was afraid of failing my life, to be living my life as a human being or whatever, what happens, right? And so I had this kind of plan Z, which is like, okay, I'm going to go somewhere and finish myself in some kind of natural way, whatever, right? And now I don't even care. And now I don't even care about that. Like, I don't even think about it. It's like, I don't care, because I'm so happy every day. I facilitate people or bring through those experiences. Sometimes you see like huge things move through and it's like, holy heck, what is going on there? It's just like huge. And you see change right after the session, how people have changed. The skin color and smoothness changes. Before that, they may have like red patches somewhere on the neck
and dry skin. Like, the body, you can see, right, when someone is stressed. And this is also why I'm so passionate about breathwork as well, and spreading awareness of the power of breathwork, because it can have an effect, like you say, that if the body is under so much stress, you see it, and in crazy ways, like you said, like strange patches on the skin that shouldn't be there. It's the body almost like being suffocated and crying out for help, right? Saying, please give me more love or attention or something,
Yeah, absolutely. And it's incredible to see these kind of like transformations in people. And
absolutely.
And I'm basically every morning I wake up, I'm looking forward to my next sessions, to my next things, because I constantly keep reading and working on different literature to make myself even more aware of those things, like on a trauma healing and all those stuff, like neuroscience, polyvagal theories, all that's like crazy stuff.
Yeah, well, I'd love to talk a little bit about that actually, because you have particular knowledge, I know, and also teach, right, nervous system therapy, and that's something that I'm really interested in terms of breathing and nervous system therapy, and how that can be used to elevate people's lives and help people.
Yeah. So where should I start now then?
Well, what is nervous system therapy? I'm sure many people listening sort of.
So
it's in the name, but of course, like of what it is exactly.
So I'll just like tell a little bit of the background why I call it nervous system therapy or so. So basically the breathwork itself, right? So the therapy of the breathwork, right? We breathe and then the healing starts to happen within us.
Right.
But the healing happens on the level of the nervous system. or our all kind of a neurological system, which includes our limbic brain, our brain stem, and a part of the nervous system, right?
Yeah.
And so the healing starts to happen. And so what happens during the breath work is that we are raised into the altered state of consciousness that also brings us into the more into the theta brainwave state, which is like super calm, but really sharp and present. And that enables us to, so with this state, our brain becomes malleable. So we can start to change it. Children from the age of 2 to 6 are mostly in the theta brainwave state. This is the state where you can actually absorb a lot of information.
Which is why kids can learn so much better than adults, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because we are constantly in the beta, which is 12 to 30, and mostly we are in the mid or maybe high beta. So it's like really hard for us to actually tap into this kind of learning stuff. And so at the same time in the breath work, what happens, our subconscious mind gets connected to the conscious mind or bridged. And now when those are bridged, the stuff from the subconscious mind starts to come into the conscious mind. We become aware of that. And now when we become aware of that, we can actually let it move through us and release, right?
Right.
And I was like thinking about that, and I thought like, this is actually a nervous system therapy, although we call it breath work, because, and I understand why it's called breath work, because the breathing is what we do. And so we focus on what we do, right?
Right.
But the work happens on the level of the nervous system.
It's on a deeper level, right?
Yeah. So the breathing is kind of an access into subconscious mind, access into the nervous system. So the nervous system can start doing what it does, because the nervous system is an incredibly intelligent system, and it knows exactly what it needs to do. Because imagine if human being is created from one single cell into more than 50 trillion cells, different types of cells. It can like grow, it can fix itself and do everything. Why can't it kind of like just self-regulate? It's of course really normal. But the problem is that we don't give it environment what actually supports the healing, right? And when we breathe, then we bring our subconscious mind and all that into a certain state where it can start healing itself.
Right, but when we breathe consciously is what you're saying, rather than how the majority of the population breathe day to day, which is actually quite unconsciously, right? Which is the issue, that there's so many blockages. And is that what you're talking about when you refer to the conscious mind and the subconscious mind sort of merging together? Things can come up and things can release. Are you talking about things as well, things that are stuck within the body, like trauma, like things that people are struggling to let go of? And of course, I'm sure it's not all bad, like other things can be released too, like realizations and clarity and things, but especially that sort of trauma or those blockages emotionally people are holding on to. Is that what you're referring to when you mean that they merge together and they release?
So what
That's
what
powerful.
basically So because all the trauma and suppressed emotions are stuck in our nervous system, subconscious mind, the nervous system on the cellular level, right?
Yeah.
And now to move them out from there, we have to actually tap into the nervous system and subconscious mind, right?
Yeah.
And then it starts to come out from there and can start to release.
Yeah. Incredible.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow. And so this conscious connected breath and the effect that it has on the nervous system, is that a particular technique that you put it down to, a name technique, or do you believe that we can benefit from many techniques and it's actually more just about empowering yourself to harness your own breath in a way that suits you?
Well, as much as I understand from the different these kind of breathing techniques and so on, so in order to kind of maybe answer better to that, maybe I'll explain a little bit how the breath works, right?
Yeah. 100%.
When we inhale, we activate our nervous system. When we exhale, we deactivate our nervous system. We calm our nervous system. When we inhale, we upshift our endocrine system, and when we exhale, we downshift our endocrine system, right?
Right.
So when we do that now, when we like breathe in a like chaotic way, whatever is the way, right? So there's happens like activation and deactivation and everything, and it's a mess, right?
Yeah.
And now when we talk about specific like breathing methods. Okay, let's talk about conscious connected breathing. How does it work?
Right.
So idea is to create a balance between the inhale and exhale, right?
Right.
And when you start to like balancing it out, the inhale and exhale is like, let's say it's similar length or whatever, right? So it starts to balance the nervous system, and that calms the nervous system down and everything. For example, at the same time, when we breathe through the nose, we have less air getting in and out than when we breathe through the mouth, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And now when we go,
yeah.
So for example, when we breathe in through the nose and exhale through the mouth, do the kind of like breathing technique, we are downshifting and calming us down, because we are inhaling less and exhaling more. So we're more downshifting, calming ourselves, or vice versa. When we inhale through the mouth, we activate, and then just a little bit like calm a little bit through the nose, then we are actually like shifting us up and up and up.
So that's so like Wim Hof there, that's an activation, right? That's a stressor. And I think that's really important to actually spread awareness of, is the term breath work. That's such a broad term, in that there's so much within breath work, and it can be used for so many different things. And actually Dr. Ilamanga puts it brilliantly into a framework that she just calls ART, and it's awareness, regulation, and transformation. And that any form of breath work can go into one of these three categories within that framework, that whether it's a stressor or a calmer, or something that could lead to a trauma release and a certain sort of transformation. And I think that's really useful for people to hear as well, that especially regarding the nervous system, breathing isn't just to calm down. It actually can be used as an upregulator as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And now when we talk about traumas and emotions, then every emotion has its own breathing pattern, right? If you think when you're afraid or scared, how do you breathe? You most probably hold your stomach really full, and you breathe only in the upper chest,
high,
right?
Shallow,
and really shallow. And maybe you're even like breathing really slowly, maybe because you want to be really quiet to hear your threat around you. When you're angry, you're probably breathing really quickly on the upper chest again, not in the belly anymore. Right. And but when you're relaxed and so on and other things, you probably breathe into more of whole body, all the way to the bottom of your kind of belly and stuff. And now so as each emotion has its own breathing pattern, then as you said before, that when we are in everyday life, we just like breathing like different stuff all the time, or when we are stuck in an emotion, we just breathe this certain breathing pattern, and that doesn't allow us to become more open. And so basically we could say that we should be able to breathe dynamically. And what does that mean is that so when we breathe dynamically, we can face all life situation that life gives us or throws at us, right?
We're taking control of our response.
So we can actually respond, not react, right?
Yes, right. And you can manipulate the breath, I suppose, to build your resilience to your control of your response, so that you don't lose control. And that's where ancient techniques come in, right? And I'm sure the techniques you were studying in Bali were techniques that go back hundreds and if not thousands of years, and including pranayama is of course the most well-known one that everyone's heard of. And there's a lot of manipulating of the breath that goes on within pranayama, and most people have seen the alternative nostril breathing that's known to balance the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, right? And it's incredible that now in today we have the scientific technology to be able to actually prove the advantages of techniques that people have been practicing for thousands and thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And
do you have any experience of pranayama yourself?
I'm not sure, actually. I've been practicing like Tai Chi like long time ago for 3.5 years. So there's like certain breathing thing. They have kind of not Qigong, but a little bit different kind of Qi practice as well. You breathe in, like do the circles within your body, and it really connects with your body and brings into away from the mind, so you get more
Yeah.
connected to the surrounding, and so everything becomes more alive suddenly, because you start to feel it, not just like see it or think about it.
Yeah.
Right. And but no, I haven't done like specific pranayamas,
No.
but also the conscious connected breathing, what I do, and it seems that all of those breathing methods, they go back to the ancient kind of India or China,
And the ancient
and those
scripts,
things.
yeah, with the
Yeah,
yogis way back when.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Exactly. Well, they all have a similar goal, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Which is
Yeah.
to bring yourself back to the present moment and
Mm-hmm.
back closer to your consciousness.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't
Yeah,
really,
absolutely.
I think that's important as well for people to hear, is that it doesn't matter where you start in your breathing journey, whether it's pranayama or whether it is conscious connected breathing. There's all these different names that are thrown around that can be quite intimidating to someone who is
Yeah.
new to
It's like,
breath work, but it doesn't matter. Even just sitting on your own and just slowly bringing your awareness to your breathing, that's a start.
absolutely. For example, if you just focus on your breathing, just relaxing your body, becoming aware of your body being relaxed, and just focus on your breathing, that already brings you into more here and now and removes the stress.
Yeah.
I have a couple of maybe like interesting story to share about the panic attack and how I kind of like discovered how to get out of it with just
Really?
focusing on the breathing. But it
Really?
was like way before that. So the first one is when I was a kid. So I had oftentimes these nightmares, right? When you kind of open your eyes, but you can't move, and then you go into panic right away.
Yeah.
And so like I was trying all kind of stuff, throwing at those things, some kind of spells, and I don't know, all kind of like stuff, to what could be there, you know, you're a small kid and stuff. And then later in life, I had those too. And once I like, when I opened my eyes or kind of like become aware of my situation, and I've always, when I started to struggle under that, the more I struggled, the heavier it was, like more it has a pressure on me. So
the more you fought against it, the heavier it came down on you. Wow.
Yeah. So this one moment I thought like, fuck it, just like, okay, just come on me. Just like, I totally relaxed myself and just like felt it, how it just like presses on me. Yeah. And the moment I did that, it just
it dissipated. No way.
Yeah. And I just like opened my eyes and it's like, and just like came out of it like as nothing happens. Like, what the heck was that? And so I went back to sleep, and I thought like, come more, I want to test it again,
Yeah.
And so it started to come again a little bit, and then I did the same thing, and it disappeared right away. And after that, I've never had this anymore in my life.
Never maybe a panic attack ever again, because you kind of like danced with it. You danced with the panic and you played with the panic.
Yeah, it's because of the pressure, right? So what happens in the mechanical way, like, or physiological way? So the first thing, you feel you can't move. Then you think, oh, this is threatening, this is not safe. And then you go into a fear. But
into
then
a fight or flight state, right?
Yeah. So you start to fear. And now next thing, what happens, you start to feel the emotion of fear, and that triggers again, you're like, you start to think, holy heck, it's like, it's a happening. And then that connects with your limbic brain, and it brings even more stress hormones into your system to feel more fear, because now you have to like run for your life. And so it starts to feed each other. Thought and the limbic brain, emotional brain starts to feed each other and train this panic attack. So this is when a panic attack happens, right? And now, as I was just focusing on my body, relaxing and breathing, just like having the breath in me and just like relaxing, and then it disappeared, because I allowed the emotion or the sensation just to move through me, and it just dissolved and went away. And now after that, when I did that, it became automatic within me. Every time when I just a little bit felt that something like that happens, I just like, okay, I'm just like relaxing, just breathing. And then it just like never came back in, right?
Wow.
And another story was actually even more interesting.
Right.
So we were with the friends in the nature somewhere, and we did some acid. So just like, go around and stuff. And it's like at some point I was sitting somewhere in the nature, looking at my toes, giggling there, looking, and then suddenly like I noticed that my friends were gone. And then I like heard a thought in my head, where are they? I don't know. Uh, I'm afraid to go after them because I am afraid to get lost, right? Because of my
Yeah.
mindset
Yeah,
state
that's
of mind.
terrifying, just being
And then
lost
I,
in the middle of like
yeah,
a
and
wood,
that,
a wood or something.
yeah, and that moment, like fear kicks in, right?
Right.
And I feel like how this fear, and it starts to kind of play with my thought as well. So it
Yeah.
starts to turn into panic. And then holy heck. So what I did was totally going back into this, like, just like relaxing my body, feeling my body, being in my body, and just
Yeah.
focusing on my breath as well and feeling how I breathe. And that's
Yeah.
it. So I'm focusing, sitting there. And then I suddenly feel how that fear becomes kind of like sort of so this kind of energy heat. So it travels throughout my
Wow.
body, on the back of my head, and it
Yeah.
gets really hot here. And it's like
Uh-huh.
burns and burns. And I'm like sitting there breathing, just like focusing on my breath and my body.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, what is that? What is that? And at some point, it's like goes smaller, 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 and disappears again. And I'm like,
Again.
holy heck,
Wow.
it's like never happened. It's like never happened. So, so yes,
Wow.
so this kind of taught me like that breathing and concentrating just on your normal breathing, even on the stressful situation and on your
Mm.
body, you're bringing yourself out of your mind, of the stories we tell ourselves. And through that, we can actually start to experience the sensation and just observe them. And
Mm.
once we observe them, we disconnect them from identification with the self. And then we
Mm.
can just like let them do whatever they do and just like go
Yeah.
away
Yeah, because by
within
observing
them.
those sensations, you have to sit in that discomfort, right? You're forcing
Mm-hmm.
yourself
Yeah.
to sit in the discomfort, not run
Mm-hmm.
away from it and not try and fight
Yeah.
it, like you said before, but actually
Mm-hmm.
sit in the discomfort. And I read something
Yeah.
somewhere not too long ago, actually, where it said that there's a part of our brain, and I'm sure you can shed some light on this, that actually doesn't know the difference between something like quite a sort of domestic fear, like, I don't know, you're scared of something inside your house. It actually doesn't know the difference between that and a tiger chasing you. Your brain
No.
reacts and panics actually in the same way because of the way our primal instincts are wired.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Because for our limbic system and our brainstem and nervous system, there
Mm,
is just the fear. And the
it's
fear is
just fear.
actually it's actually like emotion. It's a protection emotion.
Right.
It's like to protect me from dying, right? So
Right.
first thing I see is threat, and in order to stay alive, our bodies get okay. You have to feel that feeling in order to run and stay alive, right? So that's why
Yeah.
we have a fear.
Yeah.
And the problem arises when we kind of like in everyday life nowadays we have constantly a little bit like dripping in that stress and fear, and we don't really run, but we just sit in
Constantly.
the place and it's like constantly like yeah.
That makes so much sense, actually, that
Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
with this pace of the world today and the
Mm-hmm.
pressure of the world as it is right now, it's no wonder
Mm-hmm.
actually that all of us are walking around with little droplets of fear and stress constantly sort of trickling in.
Yeah, it's like
um
crazy.
but then the question is, right, what do we do about it? And I don't know if you agree, I'm sure you would agree that the answer always comes back to the breath.
Basically, yeah, because just breathe, focus on the breathing, and just let whatever you feel, let it move through you.
Yeah.
That's the main.
Yeah.
Because there's interesting fact that emotion lasts 2 to 3 minutes. That's a really short
Really?
time.
That's
When
it?
we are longer, yeah, when we are longer in the
Wow.
emotion, or we think we are longer, we are actually in the story we are keep telling, which is connected to the emotion. And now each time
Mm.
we tell the story, we bring that emotion up again. We bring that emotion up again. Every time the story, bring emotion.
So,
And so
so
we get stuck within it.
if you have, say, like a fight with someone
Mhm.
and you've had the fight and you've walked away, but then for the rest of the day you keep replaying in your
Yeah.
mind whatever your version of what happened over and over and over again,
Hmm.
within your brain you're actually reliving that emotion again and again and again. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Whoa.
And
Whoa.
that's because you didn't express the emotion fully, because you
Right.
didn't express it fully. When we express the emotion fully, it releases. When we hold it back, and because probably we don't want to hurt someone on the other side, or whatever the
Mm.
reason, right? Or maybe we are afraid of rejection, or whatever
Right,
the
right,
reason
right.
again, right?
We're protecting
So we,
ourselves.
yeah, or them,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
basically we hold it back, and now when we go away, and the reason why we hear like it keeps going is
Mm.
because we didn't express it fully. We have to express fully to get rid of it. And the
Right.
moment, if you think of yourself, when was the last time you really expressed any emotion? How did you felt?
Free.
You
And
felt like I'm so
and
empowered.
powerful. And powerful. I
Yeah,
was just gonna say powerful.
yeah,
When that space is there to just fully, no matter how you express the emotion. Do you know what I
mm,
remember? Actually, the other night I put some music on, and it was quite holotropic music. It
mm,
was really sort of vibey, and I just started to move. I just started to move my body to the music,
yeah,
and
hmm,
I don't know why. It's something I used to do a lot, and I hadn't done it for a while, and I just in that moment was like, man, I want to dance. I don't know, I want to move. And
mm,
it felt so good and so powerful because it just felt like I was fully expressing without expecting a logistical explanation, but fully
hmm,
expressing everything I was
yeah.
feeling in that moment. And you're right, it feels so powerful, and it's got to be incredibly nourishing for the body
Yeah.
as well,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Because you let it
Yeah.
through, and what you else probably felt, I guess, was
Mm.
you felt tremendously embodied within your body. You were
Yeah, yeah,
so here and now, and
yeah,
everything was so physical and stuff, right?
yeah.
And so this is what emotion does. It's basically like life force. And when we come back to the children and ask why where these children get this energy, because they constantly let all the emotions through. They don't suppress it. They let it through. They let it through. And so they constantly are embodied, constantly are
Yeah.
empowered,
They're not
and
just letting
constantly
it
are,
through their voice, right? They're letting it through
yeah,
their entire body. Their whole being
absolutely.
is, when a child cries, their whole
Mhm.
being is expressing that
Yeah,
need for whatever they're asking for, that need for a cuddle. They are
yeah,
literally reaching out with their soul
yeah,
to you. Whereas
yeah,
when we become adults, we get so polite, right? We get so
yeah,
withdrawn and polite that um we become encompassed in ourselves, and it
yeah.
suffocates us.
Yes, and it's mostly comes from the fear of rejection or fear of abandonment. What
Mm,
is actually thought by our parents, right?
right.
Because they kind of we were kind of loud something, and they told us like good children are not loud, or good children, or like bad children. If you're a bad kid if you do that,
Yeah.
and which kid wants to be bad? No kid wants to be bad. But what they hear is that their emotion is not accepted, right? And there's like every kid's life, like everyone's life, is full of these situations where we actually feel that we are not enough, we are not accepted, we are not heard, and so
Mm,
on. And so this is, and what is the message is that it's not safe, that safe to express those things, because maybe our parents gonna abandon us, especially when they tell us, I'm gonna leave if you don't stop crying, right? Or and what happens is that our system perceives that it is safer to suppress the emotion that become abandoned, because from the primal point of view, if you got abandoned from the tribe, you're definitely dead, right? Because in the
right.
wilderness, like everything eats you. But we still carry that code within our deeper brains and lower brains, which constantly do the work and thinking and calculating everything around us for us, right?
So how can adults fully express and release those emotions like children do, to find this sense of freedom within themselves that we all seem to be craving and searching for, but it's
Yeah.
easier said than done sometimes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess when you're angry, it's not the smartest thing to start shouting at your workplace, because probably you get fired or something, right?
Right.
Or
So
do
what do you
something
do?
like, yeah. So there would be like a couple of things. The first thing is become just aware of your emotion and
Right.
just let it feel, because we can
Yeah.
actually just like sit here and be super angry and just like observe how it moves within, not the story we are telling why we are angry, or
Yeah.
that it is anger. Because
Yeah.
when we tune into the emotion, it's just like sense of heat or tension or something, right? And when
Yeah.
we become connected to that feeling, then we can just like sit here and be like, holy heck, like what's going on with me? It's like feeling
Right.
this thing moves through.
Yeah.
So the easiest, like not the easiest, but let's say most reasonable thing would be just like becoming aware and letting this move through us, not suppress it, right?
Right. And when you
Because
say becoming aware, you mean becoming aware of your breathing, or becoming aware of that emotion, or both, maybe?
yes, the both basically,
Both.
because when we start focusing on the breathing, we give our mind task. When we don't focus on the breathing, our mind has a like just like thinks about a lot of those things like monkey mind.
Those
But when we
stories
focus,
again.
yeah, those stories.
Yeah.
When we focus on the breathing, there's a task for a mind, so there is no time for the mind to do the stories, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
that's okay. I have to like check the breathing. I have to check the breathing,
Yeah.
right? And so this way it is easier for us to connect to the feeling and sensation itself. So basically relaxing our body, because when we are stressed, our body gets really tense, right? So we have to go like relaxing in the body and just like breathing. And then we get into contact with the sensation of the feeling itself, of the emotion. And then we can let it like go through, because if you remember it lasts 2-3 minutes, then it's most probably going to be pretty soon gone, right?
I mean, that information actually is so simple, but that's extremely empowering,
Yeah.
just to know that
Yeah.
an emotion will last 2 to 3 minutes. That there's so much
Absolutely.
hope in that statement, that it
Absolutely.
will pass. It will
Yeah,
pass.
it's like nothing basically. I have been
Yeah,
struggling with something like for like 20 years maybe, right? And now it's
yeah.
like 2-3 minutes. What? But it's like,
If you allow
like
it to pass, yeah. But that's
absolutely.
incredible, isn't it? That if you do get stuck in that story, you can be stuck in that story for years.
Absolutely. That's what we do. That's what we are doing. That's what I have been doing, right? Get stuck in the story. I have the feeling, and right away, first thing I'm doing, I'm telling the story. I'm just like circling in the story.
Stuck
And
in
then
the
there's another
story.
story, and the next story, and the next story, and so on and so forth.
Whoa. It's like
And
you're in
this
a
way,
little
we
horror movie in your mind.
basically, yeah, that's what we create. And the
Wow.
stories are basically all the words from our parents, what they say, right? They have been telling basically, if you can recognize, oh, this is what my parents always told me. Now I'm telling those things to myself, right? So now they don't have to tell me. Like they think now she learned how to behave, but I'm just like keeping repeating those things and not allowing certain things to like.
As a means to being good enough, do you think? That's why we keep telling ourselves what our parents told us, as a means to just try and not disappoint the world?
Mm, can you maybe rephrase it?
In When you said before, we start to tell ourselves what our
Yeah,
parents repeatedly told us when we were
yeah.
children.
So
Why
for
do we
example.
do that?
Uh, because it's connected to the emotion, and now when we suppress and we start to suppress that emotion. So how the suppression of the emotion mechanic works? The first thing, we feel the emotion which wants to move through.
Right.
Now when we let it move through, everything is fine. We just continue living on.
2 to 3 minutes, right? That's the two to
Yeah,
three minutes. Great.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's roughly right.
Roughly.
So now when we don't allow it to move through, but we suppress it, it
Yeah.
becomes a loud thought in our back of our head. When we
Right.
had a fight with someone and walk away from it without expressing thoroughly, we can't even maybe fall asleep in the evening because we're constantly thinking about it really loudly. So now our biological system, physiology, and nervous system is built so that into making everything as efficient as possible, because
Right.
that thinking takes tremendous amount of energy and attention.
Right.
So what it does, it makes it a habit, or which means it brings it into subconscious mind and into automatization. So we don't have
Right.
to consciously think about that and spend energy, but it brings into our subconscious mind, where it just goes back there, but still goes on, right?
It's on
And this is
repeat.
it's
Automatic
under,
repeat.
yeah, exactly,
Oh.
right? And now when it still goes there, and what happens at the same time, so emotion is suppressed, the tension is in the nervous system still there, right? And what it does, it starts to create tension within our body in the certain different areas, and it changes how we breathe, restricts our breath, and so on. And so it reflects our breath basically when we are
Yeah.
stuck in the emotions and so on. And now when that happens for long enough, for let's say like 10 to 20 years, we start to have all kind of physiological problems like skin issues or something. Usually you go to the doctors and they say, we don't know how it comes. It's just like everything is okay, but it's there. We don't know, right?
Yeah,
So it's
maybe they pass it
basically,
off as stress. Just that broad term, right? Stress.
yeah. But that's true, right? Because
Yeah.
that suppression of the emotion is the stress. We
It's
keep
causing
ourselves in a
stress.
state of stress, yeah. And what happens within these areas in our body when it's tense, right? It doesn't allow properly move through blood, oxygen, nutrition, in and out, which means you constantly basically like what would happen with your shoulder muscles if you would hold your hand like up for like
they get really tired
tens of years,
and
like
weak and tired. Well,
yeah.
really tired and just overworked and overused, and eventually it would break, right?
Yeah, you probably you would hurt your hand and muscles and stuff. I can something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like in a rough descriptive way,
that's
but
such a good way of looking at it. Actually, I've never thought about that like that before.
Yeah, and basically, so this is how the emotion system works. I don't know, forgot what was the question or what was I planning
With
to answer.
how can adults fully express, which I think we've come beautifully full circle actually into how can an adult with seeing as children find it so much easier to allow the emotion to pass through them, someone that's perhaps been so stuck in a story for so many years, how can they begin their journey to becoming unstuck?
But so let's say this becoming aware of the emotion and the sensation of the feeling,
right?
is
that's step
one thing you can do, right?
Yeah.
You can do that probably works. The second thing is Brandon, I forgot to name his work, his book is called Radical Honesty.
Radical Honesty. Yeah, we'll put it in the description notes for anyone listening. That we'll put that book in the description.
And he's like psychotherapist or something like that, who's been like working with people for 40 years, something like that. And he's bringing interesting thing out, that you have to express your truth. Every moment when you feel your truth, you have to express it. Then you can actually move through your emotion and get aligned with yourself again. But what is your truth at every moment is what exactly you think or feel at every given moment. And that changes constantly. So when someone asks something and you feel you don't really want to say straight away because you feel like you're going to hurt them, then you try to make it like kind of like more beautiful through the flowers or something. So that the moment you start to change your truth, exactly how you feel, you start to disconnect yourself from your center, yourself. And so basically you're lying to yourself.
You start to fall out of alignment.
Yeah. And the more we do that, being all that nice to each other and so on, the further we go. And at some point we are thinking like, who the hell am I? I don't know. I have to go to travel to find myself, right?
So we need to fuck politeness. Is that more what you're saying?
So because if someone feels hurt, this is their inner problem, their emotional system, which actually we are triggering their emotion that starts to rise, which has nothing to do with us.
Right.
But as
of the other person's reaction.
Yeah, because this comes from their past, because probably the way I told reminds them of someone in the past who told something in a certain way or with a certain tone or with a certain word combination. And now their system triggers as a threat, right? As a survival mechanism. And it's actually nothing to do with us who are telling them, but this is their inside system. When we're going to be trying to nice to them, we are actually fucking everything even more up, right? Because then it goes like government, like it goes all over the world, as we can see right now. It happens in the world. It's like, what the heck is going on, right?
That is extremely powerful. So live your truth within every single moment. I mean, easier said than done, right? But if
absolutely,
I'm guessing if you can just start being mindful and setting that as a daily intention, and that you're gonna screw up, right? You're gonna fuck it up daily, but if you set it as an intention, then at least you can begin that journey to on a daily basis connecting with your truth and expressing your truth. That's so powerful.
Yeah, because try it yourself. You're gonna notice right away the moment you tell actually what you want to say, you feel more energized right away. You get more connection with your own empowerment and your alignment again. Because yes, this is my truth. Because what is our harm? What does it mean to be in harmony and aligned with ourselves? Means if our words, our thoughts, our emotion, the feeling, and our action are aligned.
Mm.
So when we are telling our truth, we know what we feel or think, and we express through the action.
Yeah.
So this very moment we get really aligned, and we get back into the center. We know who we are. We get connected to the world through that. We can't get connected to the world without being connected to the self, because we experience the world through the self.
Right. Right.
And
what do you think would happen if the whole world went around saying exactly what they were feeling in that moment? Because you're not talking about saying what you're thinking, you're talking about saying what you're feeling, right? Which actually can, those can differ. But what do you think would happen if everyone walked around and everyone expressed their truth 100% of the time?
if you would really say what you really feel, because there is no harm, we would get more connected, I think, in a bigger picture. Of course, there would be, right now, if you start doing that, I already see there's so much fear, and the mind from like connection through the mind, not from the body and feel. So it would probably like do all
Chaos.
kind of spills and stuff in the world. But basically, if you start to express your through how you actually feel, I'm frustrated right now, I'm a little bit angry on that. But the point is that when you, for example, express anger through the words and saying I'm angry right now, it's not enough to say I'm angry that you are your asshole or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
Well, yeah. What matters, what you have to say, you have to go into specifics. You have to connect to the specifics, because usually we get angry not on the persons, but on the acts of the persons. They do.
Right.
The act makes us angry.
That's so true.
I'm not angry on my kind of mother, but I'm constantly angry on the stuff she does, right? But that doesn't mean I don't love her, right? I can be angry and love her simultaneously.
That is a very, very, very true statement. My goodness. In our brains, I suppose, we associate that we are angry with that person rather than only angry with the actions that they're doing.
Yeah. And that's the thing, when you understand the mechanics of the emotion, how the human being works, what is to be human, as a human manual we were talking about, then everything like falls into place, and you can actually start communicating much easier. And when everybody would know and understand that, it would be much easier to communicate, because everybody, that's his thing there going on, or whatever, we understand this is your whatever, your brainstem maybe brings out some kind of freeze state, and this is not your fault that you didn't do something, but your like system just like keeps you away from feeling harm or dying or whatever.
A lot of issues and problems, possibly on a huge scale, could be solved a whole lot quicker, right? If everyone just spoke their truth.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we would be more connected, because it's easier. Okay, if you say, yes, I'm feeling really angry. Oh, why do you feel anger? Why do you feel anger? Because I feel there's some kind of need isn't fulfilled, or I feel that you didn't hear me. I was telling those things to you, but you keep responding in a way that it makes me feel that I'm not heard. And then you can actually talk about the actual things that make the difference and change
in that
them.
present moment as well. You're not walking away and living in your story, which is probably half your imagination anyway. You're living in your, because we elevate things, right, in our imagination, but you're sitting there in the present moment and you're experiencing what you're experiencing, and you're simply vocalizing it to another person, which actually, you're right, that is the greatest gift, right? To be vulnerable and share with someone else how you are feeling in that exact present moment. It's a vulnerable thing to do, but it's probably, even if it is anger, you're so right, it's the kindest thing to do, because you're with your truth, you're not lying.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't have to hide it. You don't have to hide it from others. But the hardest part is usually to actually bring it out, because the anger is the most suppressed emotion in our whole world society, because it's considered to be violent and so on. But by itself, it's not violent. It's protective mechanism. Like dogs get angry when you cross their boundaries. You get angry when someone crosses your boundaries, not a physical and also mental. Your thought, like what is your boundaries, right?
Without anger, we would have no boundaries.
Yes, because if we wouldn't have anger, we wouldn't protect ourselves. We wouldn't survive as a species, because like tiger comes into your cave and you're like, yeah, come,
Hi,
I'm on, or
Tiger.
someone else, come, yeah, whatever. It's like, kill this, oh, fuck, just like die. Hell, now I'm dead, right? So we would
Oh,
survive.
wow. Yeah.
So it's like, it's like nervous system mechanisms to keep us alive, right? When
Yeah.
someone comes and wants to take, like, steal our wives or children or husbands or whatever, and so we protect our, like, area or stuff,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
and so we go
Wow.
into fight, right?
Wow.
And yeah.
Connecting and speaking your truth. Um,
Mm.
I mean, I was gonna say, if there was one specific thing that you think is of the most importance for people to do in the world right now, what is it? But I think you've already said it in that just connect to your truth and speak your truth, and that's so powerful.
Yes, because then we get back connected to our true selves, and when we are in our true selves, we feel basically blessed. We are happy. That's where happiness lies, being our true
Oh,
selves.
wow, 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 wow! Thank you so much. That conversation has been incredible. I've learned so much
Oh,
from speaking to you. Thank you so much, Raymond. I hope you've enjoyed being on the podcast.
yeah,
Um,
thank you too. I really enjoyed it, and
good.
yeah.
Thank you. Awesome.